What's up, Land Golf Academy members, and guests, welcome back. We're going to look at 3 amateur videos. We're going to look at their cause and effect, choose 1 or 2 things that'll help them with their motions, and also learn about your swing, possibly if you see some of these things. I'm also going to throw up a video of me doing the correct motions to help demonstrate by implementing these changes will change the whole direction of your swing, and most of our swing issues are caused by fundamental flaws. If you're new to this channel, this is what we do. We diagnose swings from players who are at the top of the world to players who top the ball. If you do like that, hit that like, share, and subscribe. Really helps us grow. But enough of that. Let's go learn about cause and effect. Okay, amateur number 1 is on the screen. I know that he's trying to attempt to stack and tilt motion, but I do see some issues with it. So let's just watch this swing over and over again, and we can see the attempt of stack and tilt. We see the weight going over his left foot. But there's some issues that impact, and we see his hands are throwing to try and save this, and he's not able to keep that angle retention. So what we're going to look at is, obviously he's doing a good job of getting half of the stack part of it down, but we're missing the rest of it. So we draw a line in Barney purple straight from the ball to the sky. We can see a majority of the weight is sticking over his left side. Now this is okay for those that want to do stack and tilt. We do have a slight forward press, which again is okay for somebody that wants to do stack and tilt. Now the one issue with this is you have to carry that angle down at impact to make this work, and we can see as he gets down into his impact, he starts to lose some of this angle right here. You can see that right hand has a little scoop action, and now we have to think about what is going on. Why do we have to have that scoop action? So let's back it up to the top of his swing. We can see the weighting is correct. However, those hands are a little bit too low for stack and tilt. Now remember, stack and tilt, you're trying to get your angle of attack much steeper because you are tilting. So we're missing the tilting aspect. So if you look at that left shoulder needs to be much further down. And what is also occurring is as he takes that club back, he is rolling his hands open. So you see that club face is pointing straight at the camera. That means the toes up to the sky. When you do this, you lose elasticity on your left side. It actually frees you up, which now your left shoulder raises up, and now he has a normal tilting action where he needs that left shoulder to be down. Now, if he were able to get that left shoulder down, his hands would actually stop about here because he would have so much stretch in that left lat, he would not be able to go further. And by him going further, he doesn't necessarily go further with his body, he goes further with his hands and arms. So if we back it up to about 3/4 of the way, we can already see here that his right hand is pulling back, his arms are pulling back to that right shoulder, top of the swing. He is disconnected from the center. Visually, it should look, if that's going to be his shoulder tilt sticking down slightly, his hands or arms should be out more in front of his chest, and his club shaft should be more up in the sky like this. Now he does not have to throw that right hand to get it back out in his body. He's going to maintain his tilting, and from this point he can now thrust that left hip straight to the target and get that almost accentuated lean to carry that over. So if we draw a line right up to the sky, we will see, does he get the weight over? He does, but he's leading with his shoulders as opposed to his hips. Now when your hips lean, that's going to help right his upper body to drive with that hip. And if we clean these lines up, let's take a look at that angle. So the angle here he's established is a pretty good angle in relation to his center of his chest. You can see the center of his chest, he is off the center. So his hands should be here and the club should be there. Now that doesn't seem like much, but watch what he does with his hands to make up. He has 2 options. He can get his hands to increase the speed, which is very hard to do this close to impact, or you have to sacrifice that angle and throw the angle. So watch the club head, watch how it moves down, and he's lost the angle, and now he's getting that scooping action. So if we back it up here and clean all these lines up, his hands should be matching that tilt out over here, and now he would be pressing correctly for a stack and tilt. So the issue doesn't necessarily lie as much in the setup, it is in the takeaway and understanding what stack and tilt is. You might have the stack, but you are missing the tilt. Look at this video I'm going to show you. Okay, so in this video I want you to look at his left shoulder and how it raises up, and then my left shoulder, how it stays down in the backswing. And what that does is it stretches my left side so I can't go back any further. I will try some swings here where I feel like the left shoulder is going up, and you can see how much further that club goes, but then I resort back to the left shoulder going down, and we can see how that's going to lock me into place right there. Okay, so amateur number 2 looks very powerful, looks very aggressive, looks like he's an athlete trying to strike that golf ball. But what do you notice with his centeredness of his body? Can you see it move back as it sits in his heels, and then it's stuck back there? So we're going to have to look at the way he sets up to the golf ball and how he's compensating for this. And it's a slight, subtle move, but it will make a big difference because it will affect how that right hip can naturally turn. But if there's so much weight stuck over it, it's not going to turn as much. It's going to do more of a drive to just push the upper body weight that's stuck on it. So to help with this, we've drawn his lower plane line, his upper arm line, and then his spine angle line. We're going to go right where the arches of the feet are and draw it straight up so we can see it's slightly forward of that center eyeball, and it looks pretty decent. If you zoom in and you take a look at the footwork, notice how the heels are stuck up on this guy. So this is a very toe-oriented player. Now, just because the setup looks pretty decent, this could be an arm length ratio, an upper torso ratio, length of the legs, length of the arms do make a difference. And if you notice the direction that the arms are going, they're going into his body. They're not necessarily hanging down in a nice natural motion. So what he has to do is he has to somehow pull the centeredness back this way to feel like he's more centered. So you watch in the first part of the takeaway, notice how his body pulls back. So everything is finding that center. Now he is probably pretty close to where he feels his feet are supporting that center, but the problem is he's moved back from the golf ball, which could be okay, but if you take a look, he gets that top plane line really good. He gets to the centeredness, so let's back up and look at the club face. So he does get to the top position pretty well in terms of his centeredness, meaning the butt of the club finds that center line, which is good. But now we're running into some issue because most of the weight is pulled back, and now with so much weight stuck in front of this hip joint, there's not much he can do, but he has to try and turn as best as he can. So he tries to turn, but notice the right leg stays planted and it's almost pushing up. Now, when it's pushing up, watch what happens to his spine angle. His spine angle now is raising higher. Now, when it raises higher, what can help? We have to get our right shoulder to tilt down so we can see as we strike that golf ball. Look how much tilting he has, and the tilt line is here. So that is an accentuated tilt. And let's take a look at this tilting angle here. And it's a pretty severe tilt. We're at 64 degrees. Clearly an athlete here, so I would do something with the setup. I want you to watch this video and see how I would make this adjustments if this was my student. On the right side of the screen, you will see that I'm attempting the same setup position with the weight is front loaded on the toes, and I have to make that adjustment by moving back, and then I get stuck and I have to compensate. So I'd make the adjustments of leaning further back in my heels slightly, and then let my arms hang down naturally, staying more centered and let my natural rotation come through. Okay, this last student, we're going to watch the swing over and over again. And we can see that there's a good compensatory motion, that he finds a way to drop that club in the slot. It is slightly steep. It does cross the line. The arms are disconnected from the body. And there is a weight issue in terms of having stability. And you can see where he finishes, he falls off his back foot. So what is causing all this is typically your body trying to work around a setup. So we can see that this setup might be a little bit too grounded, causing too much shoulder tilt. And now we're almost trying to hit it like an iron. But then you have to fall back and add loft to the club. So this is an issue. So let's start with this setup change. We have a 50-degree spine angle setup for a driver. That is a little bit too much. So if you can increase that angle, get a little bit higher, let's say we can stand a little bit taller. Now all of a sudden we have an increase of 14 degrees. What that'll do for you is it won't put so much pressure on your shoulders to remain level to the spine angle. And what that means is if you take a look at this yellow line, the shoulders must get to that yellow line, which is perpendicular to that red line. Now, in order to do that, he has to keep that tilt effective. So you can see as he takes that club back, his left shoulder is tilting down. What that does is bring the arm very low. Now the arms are low. He has to feel like he gets the arms to be higher. Now, since it looks like there's a lack of rotation, possibly due to a mobility issue, watch what happens from here. The whole body is going to help him get those hands much higher. So he over-rotates with the upper body, and he is now in the correct tilt for that spine angle, but it's just too far down for a driver. So what I have seen in the past to help correct this is that left shoulder will lose its tilting. It'll level out. That might help drop the hands down and get that club back on plane. But watch what he does. He plants that left foot, the left shoulder still goes down. So this is actually a good motion for an iron because he's maintaining his tilting from this position. Now, this club is very steep and he's in trouble. So he has to figure out how to fix this. And one of the ways he does it is he stays on his back foot and he starts to spin open. When he starts to spin open, this will allow that club to drop in the slot. However, look at that club face. It is wide open. So not only do we go in with a slightly steep shaft, but it's also open. So now we have a last ditch effort of trying to close that club face down very quick, which you see the hands exit very low. But the problem with this too is look at the weight system. The weight is falling back on his right foot, and you can see there's not much weight drive. So a simple thing to help you with this is to get a taller setup. So I want you to watch this video and take a look at the difference. Okay, so I'm trying to do my best interpretation of this setup where we have a very hunched over back and my left shoulder has to go down, and you can see it pulls my hands back, and from there I have to reroute it by either lifting up my hands, but for him he opens the turn, and now I have to add loft to that club. I have to fall back to try and hit up in the golf ball, and by doing that I lose my position, I lose my centeredness to the right side, and I spin out. So instead what we're going to do is stand a little bit taller and allow us to some spacing, and we don't have to put a lot of pressure on our shoulders. We can now just turn with our hips and have level shoulders. From here I can then turn through and keep my balance as best as I can while I get my weight distribution over to the left side. So for those of you who made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. Go ahead and share this, like it, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know how you feel. If you want to appear on this, you can email me. Link is in the description below, but I hope you have a good one. Till next time, fairways and greens.